Hey, what's going on? I saw someone ask on Quora about. This is one of the interesting questions, and I got a joke too. Someone asked how CIA sort of like actual field operations and paramilitary compares to like SEALs or berets or special forces. So like in general, how does intelligence or military compare to another group? And so my joke is that you get an answer, and if you don't like it, or if you're trying to get the answer in the first place, you just ask a SEAL. If that answer's too good, you ask a private. If it's only barely too good, you ask a beret. But if you ask a beret to do that, then what they're going to tell you is that if you need an answer and it needs to be good, then you ask a beret. And so the sort of short answer, there's actually, like, you can look this up for why there's a difference, why people say something like, what's a hammer, what's a screwdriver. That's accurate in a specific lens or context. You have to see it. But this is something that our defense departments around the world have been talking about for like 70, 80 years, right? Longer than that, right? It's the old trope. If you see a movie, Matt Damon did some spy movie, and like there's secret societies and all this like superstitious stuff, weird words, language. But if you're William Burns, the director of the CIA, what your answer would be is that, look, there is a document, several documents, but at least one that was produced in 1967, generally lamenting sort of the lack of clarity around who the CIA hires in a changing world. And this document was made, some would say, more available in about the year 2000, and it was declassified in 2007. 1967, to sort of, so this is, basically we can see a 60-year period where the CIA is asking about who they hire. And so the general description is, whether you look at special forces or you look at, you see guys like Sean Ryan or something on YouTube or whatever, that, first, you always have these people that have a certain liberalness and freeness about pursuing a career in military service. And you also have, a skew towards, whatever the number's been, 20, 25%, 30%, 10% of people with Ivy League degrees or with advanced degrees, depending on the cohort you look at, you'll see 30% of people with master's degrees, you'll see 60% of people with master's degrees. Depending on the group and the cohort, you'll see 5% women hired, you'll see 50 or 60% women hired. And so just the sort of main point is, when, if you want the simpler answer, you have all these, you have men, women, people, folks from whatever background, that are basically eager to become sort of like the apex, sort of like pinnacle of a human, to do this thing. They don't want to fail. They want to be the best at what they do. But not only that, the thing that takes it to sort of the level where we almost like mystify it is, they're sitting right next to people that also have those same skills, they have the same budgets, they have the same resources, and they're all doing the same thing, right? And it's just different, when you think about like Google. If Google wants to do something with quantum computing, they go to their basement and they work on their quantum computer. If you're part of a SEAL team, and you want to do something with a stealth helicopter, well, you go to the basement or whatever it is, wherever it's sitting right now, a hangar, and you go do something with your stealth helicopter. If you're in the CIA and you want to do something with a stealth helicopter, you ask 15 people, why are we doing this with a stealth helicopter? Don't we have something else? And then you call a SEAL to go do something with a stealth helicopter. And so, you always have, I think when people are talking about, like, another just sort of like distinction is, like, if you're talking about like Google or something, and maybe Google wants to do something with email advertising, which isn't what Google really does, right? They'll serve you some ads to your inbox, but you're going to get, the way Google does that is they'll build a team of maybe 40 people who have PhDs or 20 years experience in computer science. who are familiar with the product lines, familiar with the business line, and they'll roll out a product, a small rollout for 100,000 people. And so that's like, you know, when you're talking about the CIA or a SEAL team doing something, that's sort of like a small way of doing it, and there's a smaller way of doing it, there's a larger way of doing it, right? And so this finally, if you're sticking around with this and you're still listening and you don't think I'm totally crazy or totally off, the point is that even on the level of like presidential politics, when we are talking about the performance of a nation state and we're talking about the performance of things that we can say, you know, what is the nation state actually capable of going out and doing? What can we actually do now? What have we done in the past, and what will we do in the future? Do you think we don't care, or do you think we do care? When you look at something like, it doesn't matter whether it's the SEALs or the CIA, on the level of sort of presidential, prime minister, diplomatic politics, foreign policy, you can look at multiple groups and functions, and you say, well, what do you think happens when they ask this question? What do you think that happens when they get some order or piece of paper that goes across their desk? Do you think something's not going to happen? And this isn't cool, right? It's really not cool, because they're not serving ads to an inbox. There's, you know, it's whatever it is. So I trying to demystify it. You know, if you want to take some of the allure out of it, you know, I don't know, go to community college, get a certificate in SQL or whatever. Go, you know, go work for on-premise for a software company or something. I don't know. There's tons of options, and mad respect for a lot of those people. I don't think anyone thinks this is like cool. It's a joke. It's funny. But if that's you, then cool. That's fine. And, you know, just maybe like a more human way to say this as well is like, you know, what I would say is like, and Jocko might disagree, right? And so that's funny. Jocko might disagree with this, but if you were to say like, hey, what's the difference between maybe someone that like earned a couple certificates, passed a couple certifications for some sort of special training, maybe they made, at some point they made, or they're going to make like lieutenant or captain in the military. You see this guy, you know, whatever, he's like absolutely jacked, you know, he looks super fit, he's kind of got that presence and swagger about him. What's the difference between him and Jocko? Like if you see Jocko Willenick, or, you know, whoever it is, Echo Charles, I think is his podcasting partner. There's a bunch of other cool guys and stuff out there as well. Is there a difference between those guys? And the answer that some people might want is, you know, is it yes? Is it no? Well, it doesn't really matter. You know, my opinion, unless the president, unless Secretary Austin, unless William Burns tells you there's a difference between those guys, there's not really that big of a difference, right? You don't want to mess it, you know, that's the kind of guy that, you know, like in general, like if I'm shopping and I see that guy, it's like, cool, I'm fine, this guy's here. If something bad were to happen in that 1% case, it's better that guy's here than someone like me. In the case where, you know, we're talking about avoiding a conflict, or we're talking about going out and doing something as a nation state, if your only goal is to succeed, or your goal is to find a different way to have that conversation, you know, I'm pretty cool with William Burns saying, well, you know, Jocko's sitting back, he's not doing anything right now, you know, can you believe it? Jocko's just free right now, if that's what you're curious about. You know, I don't know if you want that, or you want fucking, you know, Joe McMahon from Montana or some shit, you know, whoever it is, yeah. Kid was JV in a total stretch story. No one would have ever thought he'd be a D3 quarterback, but if you look at him now, you know, he's just like Jocko, and he can come talk about this too. You know, he's got a couple buddies that'll help him out with it. Which one do you think we care about more or less?